by the good people at OptionsHouse. Joe, I'm really excited about the show today.
Why is that, Joel?
Well, two reasons. The first and most important reason is I probably going to win my Buffalo Wild Wings bet that I had with you.
I don't think so.
Yes, Momo. Dennis will confirm when he comes on. It has Momo going to the downside. Got a downgrade. The note said that the wings are terrible and there's no meat. There's no meat on them. And you came within that, little hair on your chinny chin chin. Well, actually, you got a lot of hair because of that beard. But you needed 152. It got to 151.67. That would have been pay dirt for you.
That's right.
But now 142 is back in play. So that's one reason why I'm excited. Do you know why the other reason I'm excited?
Well, I just want to hold on here really quick, Joel, because you'd be a winner either way because I saved you from shorting the stock ahead of the Super Bowl, okay? So you win no matter what, even if you have to buy me dinner.
Well, actually, if I just would have kept on selling, kept on selling, kept on selling, then I'd be okay. So, but anyways, there's a more important reason why I'm.
What's next?
We have a very special guest on today.
That's right, we do.
Do you want to introduce him?
All the way down from the Panhandle in Florida, we have Ronnie Moss of Standpoint Research today, who issued a note earlier this week covering Amazon, Apple, and Philip Morris. Most of you listeners may be familiar with Ronnie Moss. His report. He's been on TV. He was on CNBC earlier this week. Next week he'll be on Bloomberg and what was the other one? The Willis Report and CNBC again. And we have him today live on the show at 8:45.
He has created quite a firestorm. That would be an understatement here regarding his views, but those are his views, right?
That's right.
He's entitled to have them. So we're going to talk to him about his research. I'm really looking forward to this interview. So please, go get your cup of coffee and
don't miss this one.
Yeah, don't miss anyone.
That's
any
right.
one of our interviews.
That's right. But this one especially.
This one you can't miss for sure. But how we've digressed here, Dennis is going to yell at us if we don't start talking about the markets here, Dennis. So what did
The
you...
bull is back in town here, Joel. All your bear thesis here is starting to not look nearly as good. We're only 8 points off the all-time highs.
What did you do? Did you, roll over on your buy button on your computer at 4 in the morning? Because we just had a huge move, and you made a good point, which you do sometimes, that it was when the equities opened at 4 o'clock. It just boom, 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 shot up. I guess it's related to Macy's. I don't know. We couldn't find anything on the wires.
Well, you get the European Open slightly before that as well. So lots of action usually starts when you start getting in the 2:33, 4 o'clock area as equities start to open up in the other major markets. And the U.S. equities obviously open up for pre-market trading at 4 o'clock as well. So sometimes you can see a little bit of a pop. But yeah, we have popped here overnight. We're up 475 right now, trading at 1837 and a quarter. The overnight high is 1839. The overnight low is 1828.75. I know that number that you were talking about before, Joel, the 1833. Does that become support now?
It
because
does.
That was where your triple top or your quadruple top was. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a quintuple top now. It looks like it might actually become support.
And I'd love to see a little 2, 3, 4, 3-point pullback. Maybe go down to 1834, the area of those old highs. Put a bid out there. I don't think there's any chance that we could get down to that pre-market low at 28.75. So I'd be comfortable entering in the 34 and a half area, with the stop below the close. On the upside, we're going to be looking at the January 2nd high. The highest we've been this year is 1840.75. That could be one target on the upside. The second target could be the all-time high of 1846.50.
This crude chart, I'm just looking at it here, and it's still showing that slow leak. It was leaking down there again yesterday. We are popping back 44 cents here this morning on the crude, but man, just you look at the beginning of the year, right at the end of December, we're up over $100, and really in the first 2 weeks of trading here, or first week and a half of trading here, we are down $7.50. So the crude leak does continue overall.
It just looked, if you're a swing trader here, you have an identifiable point here. This is an interest. Let me go to the daily here. Last time we were at this area, we came down to 92.05. Crude bulls are lining up ahead of that. You have a low on, let's see, Tuesday, 92, 93.35. We took that out. But yesterday's low, 92.26. That's not far from the former low of the move at 92.06. So good support. If it can hold up here for another day or two, not go crashing down to that 92 level, I think we might get a little bit of a turnaround here in crude.
And then what do you think about this gold? We've had the big run beginning of the year when the market was having a little bit of a pullback when we went from 1200 up to 1240. We pulled back there and kind of been hanging out and holding the whole 1220 area. I know you're a big fan of the 50% fib retracement on that, and that kind of is the 50%.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like just holding here the last couple days, trying to get some momentum to move higher here again, or is gold going to continue to roll over?
Whenever I look at this gold chart, I say I can see the move, I can feel the move, but the way this thing chops around and moves around overnight, it's really hard to catch. But what it's doing, it's consolidating off that move off the low. And I think you nailed the two areas I'm looking at. 1240, even though the highs are a little bit above that at 44.70 and 47.70, I think 1240, boom, you get above there. You should obliterate that 1250 level, go up to 1260. On the other hand, and I guess the trend is down, Dennis. Is there anything that we can definitively say that that gold is in an uptrend? So if you're playing it on the reverse side, you take out 1220. I think you easily slip under 1200 and take out the low of the move. But doesn't gold move pretty good on the unenjoyment numbers?
Yeah, it can move for sure. And obviously we're going to get the unemployment numbers there tomorrow morning at 8:30. So keep that in mind if obviously you're taking a position here overnight. 8:30, you're going to see a move in the equities and you're going to see a move in gold, and often moves in the opposite direction. So keep that in mind when you have fundamental news. Technicals do take a back seat. Lots of fundamental news coming out of the retailers here this morning. We've got reports from Triple BY. We've got reports from FDO. We've got Macy's reaffirming guidance. So let's focus on some of these retailers here right now, because these retailers are moving here this morning. First, I want to start with this BBBY report. Joel always messes up the symbol. He'll put double BY. It's not Best Buy. It's Bed Bath & Beyond. Triple BY
And did
is
I
down.
mess it up? Did I mess it up that time?
Actually, I got to refresh my page here. My show wasn't showing up, so here, I'll refresh and I'll try to see. No, you got it right. I'm going to give you props there, Joel. Good job. You've got the symbol up there right. We're down $7.66 on the Triple BY report. $1.12 versus $1.15, so they missed on the bottom line. 2.86 billion versus 2.89 billion, missing on the top line. Lowering full year guidance 479 to 486. Estimates were up at 501. Credit Suisse downgrading the stock this morning. There's a lot of bad news right there I just gave you.
Sounds like a buy.
Sounds like a buy.
Bed Bath
Did you
buyer.
find support? Can you find support?
I'm trying, Dennis. I mean, someone's targeting the $72 level. We've made some lows at 71.75, 71.80, so we're just kind of hanging in there. But let's go to the dailies here. See if
I can find support on the dailies. I'm going to be quicker than you on this one. September, we bottomed multiple times at the beginning of September in the whole 71.5 area, and then 71.87. We came back down late September on September 23rd, tested again, and that held. So that looks like the area that they're trying to defend here in the pre-market. But I tell you, it's got a lot of momentum going. So if it starts taking out 71.5, it gets a little bit scary.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. I think it's going to be one of these stocks where, hey, yeah, you see 71, 75, 72 in the pre-market, opens at like 72.5, 73, and rallies. I think that they're getting overdone here. Not a ton of volume associated with this, knocking it down. I'm a little bit aggravated with the store, the one here on Orchard Lake and what is that? Orchard Lake and 14 Mile. They're changing things around all the time. I go in there, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to buy this. I know exactly where to go. And I go there, and it's like everything was switched around. I think aren't they trying to get into the grocery business too a little bit? Are they changing their business model?
I did not hear that.
This is Bed Bath & Beyond?
Yeah, aren't they at it?
Yeah, they've got the World Market in that 14 and Orchard Lake one now. Have you seen that?
Do they?
You could literally grocery shop in there. They've got
So you can do everything in these
yeah,
stores.
they sell wine and beer, and they've got. We went in there after Christmas to pick up all those like Italian breads that they had on clearance, and yeah, they do samplings. They've got all kinds of olive oil and jars of pickled stuff, and
Is it like were they trying to be like a Trader Joe's or something like
yes,
that?
yes, that
Okay.
seems to be the direction they're trying to head in.
So, I mean, that's not. I mean, it's maybe a little bit of a transition in their business model, so there could be a couple bumps in the road. But I don't know. Obviously, they delivered a lot of bad news to Wall Street. Dennis and I have identified a couple areas for you.
Well, the rest of the store is like a Brian Sazi nightmare, but they've got this new world market section to it that's nice and clean.
No, but no, it's not. Their stores aren't like that. No,
I think the stores are really clean, actually. Every
Yeah,
time I've been one of those stores, my biggest complaint is I get in that store and I can't find my way out. It's set up like a whole maze, almost like an
Like an
IKEA
IKEA
type of deal, where you
Jinx.
get in there and it's like, holy cow, and you got to follow it along, and it's a big circle, and you can get really lost in those stores there. So not as bad as IKEA, but Bed Bath and Beyond, kind of the same setup. You got to follow the arrows to get the hell out of the store, and they take you through everything. That's
Wow,
my complaint.
that's our
William
that's our story on Bed Bath and Beyond. What do you got
Williams
else?
Sonoma is trading down a little bit with it. It obviously is related, and that's trading down $1 right now, symbol WSM. So I think you will see a little bit of a sympathy move here. This morning was trading only down 40 cents, 59.35. But if somebody was on top of that, that was a pretty good sale because now it's trading down the 58 handle, offered at 58.70 right now. Best bid is 57.66. So it does look like WSM is going to have some weakness here too, off of the Bed Bath and Beyond
I
disappointment.
mean, Williams Sonoma. I mean, they're. I mean, to me, they're just like a really expensive like China shop. You know, the stuff that they sell in there. I mean that. I mean, I'm sure they're a peer, but I mean that. I don't know. I think they're starting.
You think I'm stretching with that relationship
I
there?
would like to say that normally we go to Williams Sonoma after Christmas when everything's discounted, right? And pick up peppermint bark and coffee mugs and stuff like that. This year, the discounts after Christmas, we go every year on Christmas or New Year's Day, actually. This year, the discounts were nowhere near as significant as they were last year. I think the best they were doing was 30% off. We were buying boxes of peppermint bark for $7 last year. They want 16 for it this year
It's
on
Wow.
expensive.
sale.
But we don't have inflation.
Right.
58's a super major important key level here in Williams Sonoma. That's another buck away from here. It's really been holding 58. Look how many times it bounced off 58 in the in early or late December. 21, 58.14, 58.03, 58.12. Haven't quite got there yet in the pre-market. Just a quick spike down to 58.75 and a pop here. But this thing's just been hanging out here for too long after a gap up that was probably after earnings. So, I mean, if this thing rallies back to the close 59.66,
Like sellers all over the
yeah,
place up there.
all over the place, Hanover.
FDO also disappointed on their earnings report. Missed by a penny on the bottom line, 68 versus 69. Missed by zero point 0.1 billion on the top line, 2.5 billion versus 2.51 billion. But the guidance is absolutely terrible out of this. Q2, they're seeing 85 cents to 95 cents. Estimates were up at $1.22. Full year guidance, they're lowering to 325 to 355 versus the estimates up at 398. So FDO under significant pressure here. Stock is down $5 in the pre-market. Not a good day for this retailer either.
Family Dollar missed by a penny, huh? Good thing they didn't miss by a whole dollar, or else they'd be in worse shape here. Slipped under 60 to 59.50. Getting a pop off that. Actually, we're trading at the high of the last couple hours here at 61.35 last print, 61.70 high. Going out to the dailies on this to
Those
try.
numbers work. 59.50 low in the pre-market.
Yes.
They got this double bottom from June. The first week of June, we got down to 59.30, and then the last week of June, we got down to 59.38. So that's right in that whole 59.50 area. So that's absolutely major, big. What do you say, Joel, when you got a number like that? What do you give, like 5 stars or something?
Yeah, super extra major support. Yep.
Super extra major.
And plus, you have buffeted nice round number like 60. If you've been shorting this thing forever, hey, I'm gonna pick a target. It's gonna be $60. So they coming off that high that it had above October, or excuse me, September got over $74, 75. So big pullback here. Is you gonna get some follow through in some other dollar stores?
Yeah, probably. DLTR Dollar Tree is offered down. Hasn't traded here this morning yet. Is offered down about a buck right now. 55.77 the best offer. Best bid down at 54.72. So DLTR does look like it's going to open at least a dollar lower. 55 was absolutely enormous. So that was old resistance. It took that out. That became support. I think that could fall today, but you got to keep an eye on that $55 level. It's still big.
Yep, multiple lows there. Back in beginning of December, you had 55.08, 55.10, 55.08. Still buck and a half away from there. Didn't Sazi make talk about the dollar stores yesterday when we had him on? How he perceived a little bit weakness in them as well, or am I making that up?
I don't remember if he mentioned any specific publicly traded names.
But no, I thought he was talking about the overall retail sector, and I just thought that he started from the bottom up, and I guess that would be the dollar stores. So we'll see. Big move overnight. I mean, the Dollar Tree is not really. I mean, how much is it offered down, Dennis?
Buck. It's offered down a dollar.
And no one's stiffing it, huh?
Nobody's sniffing them now, so they want somebody wants to buy. 54.72 is the best bid, which would put it down $2. I think it could trade down that $55 area, and that needs to hold. You also got Dollar General, which is symbol DG. That's trading down a buck 40 right now. Went out at 59.70, just ticked down to 58.30. So that one on the chart actually is starting to look weak too. Is breaking down. Kind of had a little bit of a breakdown day yesterday. Some of these charts you look at, heading into it, FDO was actually strong, but this Dollar General chart was kind of weak going into the FDO numbers, and the stock's going to open weaker too.
Right, it has a gap to fill also from back in December. Has a gap, had a high of 56.62, and then up to 58 and a quarter. So we're looking to get in that gap area. So if you're looking for a vacuum area in Dollar General, you have it. And then isn't this? I know this is probably a little bit. In a higher class, but isn't Five Below in it? I mean, they're kind of like a discounter too, huh?
What
Is
do
it?
they sell in there though? Don't they sell different types of stuff? Anybody go in those stores?
I went in there once.
FIVE is the symbol, but
Yeah.
No, there's one at 14 and Orchard where there's everything else, right, Joel?
Yep.
But I've never been inside, no.
because I kind of think they sell different stuff in there, to my understanding. Like obviously it's $5 as opposed to $1, so I'm sure you can get some really nice stuff for $5. But
Yeah.
Five Below, it's obviously the same type of business model here. I'll tell you on that FIVE chart, just looking at the technicals, 45 has been absolutely enormous here on this thing. It broke down through that level in early December, tried to get back up there on December 23rd, could not take it out, high 44.82. Tried to get it back up there a couple days ago, 44.90, could not take it out. Did get above it yesterday, got as high as 45.14, couldn't get above that either. Is offered in the pre-market of 44.99, no volume on this, but I think 45 is big still on this stock.
I think I bought. I might even have like a gift receipt or something in there. Not a gift, but I bought. I think Lisa had me buy some headphones in there or something, and I bought them, and they sucked, and I took them back, and they were like, "Oh, we don't take things back," and I had to like.
Oh, it's one of those.
I had to argue with the guy, for my $4.89 or something. So I don't know if I got a due bill somewhere in my wallet from it, but yeah, I mean, I'm not. Bunch of junk.
Five Below, the categories, the company classifies the categories as style, room, sports, media, crafts, party, candy, and seasonal. So it does sound a little bit different.
Like a dollar store.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess you're right.
I could have a sympathy move here today, guys. I don't think it's gonna be that strong on the day, so keep in mind, even though we're up 4 S&P points, when you got all the other dollar stores going down, it can't be good for Five Below. Macy's is one retailer that is trading a lot higher here today. So it's not all bad news, guys. There's always somebody picking up the slack, and that is Macy's. They are laying off 2,500 people, but they are reaffirming their full year guidance 440 to 450 they're seeing. BMO coming out and upgrading the stock here this morning as well, and it's up almost $4 here, trading 55.41 right now, closed at 51.84. That actually would put it up to a new 52-week high. Is that a new all-time high for Macy's?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Wow, new all-time highs for Macy's. Symbol M is off to the races this morning.
55.84 has been the high in the pre-market as we are speaking right now. That is also blowing away the former all-time high. Former all-time high was at 54 and change. You did that not too long ago. 54.07 was a high on December 29th. So a little bit overdone here. Being up $4 is quite a bit for me. $4 over an all-time high. I mean, I just would use the Micron technology scenario as something where my people might be looking to take some profits here if it in fact can hold at this area. Micron, who was trading above 24 all day in the pre-market. I don't know if it made a new pre-market. I made a new high in the regular session, but that was just too big of a move, too fast for traders, and started taking stock off in a 24 handle. Didn't come close to filling the gap, but I have an inclination the same thing might happen in Macy's today.
Hard to say because sometimes these stocks do get follow through there too. Obviously, reaffirming guidance when you got other retailers cutting guidance, it's not bad news. So I don't know. I think that you could see some follow through here. Like look at that chart of FRX yesterday. I would have never thought that stock would keep going here. It opened up near the lows actually. FRX down at like $66, closed at 69.45 on that little takeover of that $3 billion private company, and now it's trading up here again in the pre-market. Just ticked up to 70.5. This FRX chart is just gone.
Yeah,
Forest Laboratories.
Yeah, that's a good example as opposed to the one I was given in Micron. So, good job, Dennis.
Apollo Group too, APOL was another one that just grabbed the momentum and kept going. Opened up, it was trading around 29.5 in the pre-market. It opened up at the lows down there, 29.5, and just ran up another $2 after that. Did pull back off the high APOL to close at 30.98 or 30.76, but that was moving too. So sometimes when they say something good and they reaffirm, you get that post, even immediately after, you can continue to drift higher on the good news or, continue to drift lower off the bad news. It's still a little bit of a momentum market. It seems like when the ball gets rolling in one direction, it really takes a while to kind of start going in the other direction. But there's always fade plays too.
How'd you do on your short on that?
No, that one sucked.
Oh,
but I actually did okay. So here's the trade. Did I talk about this one yesterday?
You said you were shorted. You said you were shorted, but we didn't get all the juicy details.
Yeah, so basically what I did, Apollo popped up after hours. I was actually able to grab ESI, which is a sympathy. It's a peer
group. What do you mean
grab? I was able to grab that.
What do you mean grab it? What did?
I bought it after hours. So Apollo Group, and I was able to buy ITT Educational just up 20 cents. So I was like, I'll buy that because it's probably going to pop up the next day. So I was able to buy a little bit of stock of ITT, which is symbol ESI. And then I got, and Apollo popped up another like $2. I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to short just a little bit against it here. So I shorted a little bit of the stock to hedge myself on the ESI. Apollo actually pulled back and was getting nervous with it. And then it just continued popping after hours there and continued to run. So everything I lost on Apollo, I actually made more on ESI. So I actually did end up net positive in the overall pair trade. But if I wouldn't have just left it naked long, which I should have just left the ESI naked long, I would have made a lot more money. So I screwed up by trying to hedge it a bit. And I've done this in the past. You shouldn't, when the leader's going like that, sometimes don't even bother hedging the other side. Just let it go. And the hedging techniques in me, pair trader in me, took over there, and I shouldn't have hedged.
Do you know what you call that?
What do you call it?
You call that pair trading on the hop.
Is that what it is? Pair trading on the hop?
Yeah, I mean, you create. I mean, you never trade those two stocks together, right?
I trade Apollo and ESI and DV all together all the time. Those guys,
okay.
They're very related.
Okay.
But at the same time, the mistake I made is you never really want to be short the leader. On these cases, it's called crutch trading, and a lot of times actually you can just lean on the one where when one's up $2-3, the odds the other one going up are so high. I just thought Apollo was getting overdone. I didn't think it had the gas to continue to go higher. So I thought if I'm shorting this at 28 and a half, 29 bucks after hours, I was like, that's not bad. Maybe I can make it on both sides even or something. And, it just wasn't the case. I just didn't think it had that much gas. And I should have looked at the last earnings report from Apollo because it had gas and did the same thing. So usually when they give you one tell, sometimes that can repeat. And that's exactly what happened last time. Apollo gapped up from like 21 bucks up to like $28. So, I mean, I guess it could have even had a bigger move there. So I screwed up by shorting the leader, and I still made money overall in the pair trade, but I could have made a lot of money if I would have just left it naked.
Okay,
Hey,
Bruce H. Looks. I don't know if we've seen him in the chat room before, but he's happy about this move in Costco.
Costco is trading up here this morning. December sales were good, 11.53 billion. So their numbers were good. Stock is trading up $3 here in the pre-market. It's just one that actually has been drifting down. It's had a really bad start to the year,
Ooh.
been down 6 days in a row. So
Wow.
suddenly here, it's getting back half of those losses.
Wow, I didn't know that. I mean, you gotta like a place where you can go shopping and then you can also get a meal. They got all the. You gotta be careful though.
I like those dollar hot dogs.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about the free samples that they have out.
Oh, you like the free sample?
Yeah.
Oh, you always find the free stuff.
Yeah.
So you one that goes in there and you go to every little spot to sample every little piece of food, and then you sneak back and send your daughter to go get you some food for the other ones too.
Actually, I got yelled at by a lady in there one time. I don't know. She was making something and she was like using an oven so she put the tray down and I went to scoop one up and she goes, "Don't touch that. It's hot. Don't touch them until I put them out." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And then I sent Lisa back to get me one. But yeah, you can't be too aggressive in those stores. You got to wait till they put it out, burn your fingers or whatever. But no, Costco's good. They got I always buy those lobster tails there. I like Costco. I mean, I could go there and I'm like one of these dolly people. I need more than a cart. I get the dolly, fill it up, boom. I go to check out. It's like $287. I'm like, that's great. I go to the grocery store on the weekend, just for me and Lisa. I end up spending 120, 150. So
you get like 10% of the stuff.
Yep. You get good things. But look at it's popping up here. I guess you'd have to look at the pre-market high as a parameter here. Did get up to 117.50, getting a little bit of a pullback. Gonna have a lot of stock to chew through back here on the way up. You had a high at 117.75 on the 6, another high at 118.36. So this would be one of these moves where if it opens up at this area of 116.5, 117, you want to see it. You want to see it keep going. You don't want to see it. Yeah, you don't want to see it. I'd say the first 5 minutes are real key in this issue.
You're absolutely right, though. Price has memory, is what we always say. And through the entire month of December, we basically traded between 117 for the most part and 119. A lot of days, a lot of trading action. So there was a lot of short-term guys that probably have positions on from that price. And you always get that, loss aversion where, well, if I could just get my money back, I've just lost $5. If it gets back up that area, I'll sell it. And I think you'll see that happen. I think this thing starts getting to the mid 117s, 118s, 119s. I think there's a lot of stock to chew through too. So I think it will thicken up in there. So we've had a nice $3 pop here in the pre-market, but I definitely want to see a hold the 117 area starts to drift back down through there. I'd get nervous. But, the December sales were good, so maybe we can continue to drift higher.
And we have a diverse chat room here. Jarrett likes to eat the organic food. Brent, I'm sure you'll be all over that. And Jared's Jared's an organic, and GGB is more along our lines. He likes the wine prices.
Yeah, I buy the tuna there. They have really good tuna. See, I eat healthy sometimes, Joel.
Okay.
That ocean's tuna. Anyways, continuing on here, we digress so easily. Lots of upgrades and downgrades here, but first I want to get to this crazy stock this morning, ICPT. Brent, do you have the details on this one? It has just popped. It reopened for trading. It was halted earlier. This pharmaceutical company, ICPT, is up 156% right now. It's trading at $185. It closed at 72. This is it's up 113 points right now.
Intercept announcing the NASH primary endpoint was met, that they will halt the Flint trial. This is really good news. The company said that there was a highly statistically significant improvement.
Is that worth 117 points? Holy cow, man. When these pharmaceutical companies and these biotech companies get a good drug report, these things just go crazy. This is insane. That's 115 points it's up.
I don't know what to say about that, Dennis.
ICPT is the symbol on this one. I don't
Well,
even know what to say either. We probably don't have any levels to look at. I mean,
oh, what are you talking about? I'm having trouble here pulling it up here on the chart, but just to let you traders know, we talk about the whole number theory, right, Dennis? Where do you think it hit this morning before it started to decline?
125 or 200? 200, I mean.
200 right on the nose.
That it does work. The big whole numbers can work like that. This was a $1.38 billion company, which is now going to be like a $2.5 billion company, or even more than that, $2.7 billion, with the double here today, or more than double, 159%.
What
Wow,
is it?
man.
What was the end trial for? Again, what was it? Cure cancer, baldness, leukemia, and what else?
All of those combined.
All those combined. It's solving everything. This drug, if it comes out, will be the cure-all drug. It will solve all your problems. They're calling it the solve all problems drug.
Psychological problems, physical problems.
Everything. Everything. This drug will just solve everything. No, seriously, I don't know. What's
So if you
what's the
had
drug do?
if you had this in your portfolio, Dennis, what would you be doing?
It just went up 159%. I'm ringing the register, man.
Yeah.
Would I have this in my portfolio? No, I'm never that lucky to have a stock like this in my portfolio. If anybody has this in the chat room, speak up here, because wow, congratulations. This is the move of the century here. 115% over, 159% overnight. I keep looking at $115, up 159%. This is up so much I don't even know how the hell to talk about it.
We'll see.
$200.
Yeah, we'll
You
see.
gave a good
Yeah,
number, Joel.
200's resistance. What I think is interesting is this stock, averages, 2, 3, 400,000 shares a day trading, and you've traded a pretty good chunk of volume here already. So shorts are just getting laid out in this thing. So these pullbacks are going to be wicked, but we'll keep an eye on 200 on the upside.
You think, man, it is so scary to short any biotech stock, any pharmaceutical stock, these smaller ones anyways. One thing to short a Merck or a Lilly, you're never going to see a stock pop like that on those. But these one-trick ponies, when that trick works out, this is what happens. These stocks pop like that. Man, I don't think I would ever take home any of these stocks short, these biotech stocks or these pharmaceutical companies, because it's just, you just don't know the damage that can happen. And you can't trade these things technically, because all of a sudden, a trial thing comes out and technicals are completely out the window. I mean, technicals are completely meaningless on this. You can look at the $200 level, say a big whole number or something like that. But if you were like saying, oh, maybe it's got a double top up there in September, I'll try a short here, that's meaningless when it comes out with results like this and it pops 159% on you. So I don't know. That's my suggestion, is I would never, from my own personal trading, take home these little one-trick pharmaceutical biotech companies home short, because these things get ugly when they pop.
Wow, yeah, it is, and the same on if you're owning them,
Yeah, it's scary too. It's scary unless these are these are little lottery tickets too. When you're buying these little 800 million, $1 billion pharmaceutical biotech companies, they're little they're gambles. You're gambling on a good drug, and sometimes these things will double for you or even more than that in this case, and sometimes they'll go to zero too. So these are like little casino stocks, these biotechs. But
wow,
maybe a better way to do it is with the options. But I bet you the option premiums were just crazy on something like this too, if it had options. Maybe we should just go check that out. I'm gonna go check out to see if this thing.
Right, I'm sure they had. I mean, they had plenty of premium in them. I mean, especially, the people that are playing these styles. Well, it's had it. You know what?
No options. No options on
but,
this.
I wish I could pull up the daily on this, because the street was leaning the right way here, since the stock went in the middle of December from 55 and actually spiked yesterday up to 76.21. Pulled back. It just ran yesterday. You think anybody knew anything, or anybody was taking a shot on this? The thing makes a new all-time high by over $4 yesterday. So kudos to you, whoever was buying this thing.
There is no options on this, so nobody was playing it from that perspective. So sometimes I like to play these little biotech companies with options, but that wouldn't have been possible with this one with no options listed. Lots of upgrades and downgrades here. Let's move into some of the big ones. We've got J.C. Penney getting an upgrade this morning. Piper Jaffray. Brent, do you have that note on the J.C. Penney? Because I'm curious as to why Piper is upgrading J.C. Penney here this morning. We had Sazi on there yesterday. Brent, you there?
So let me go find it real quick.
Okay, Brent's going to hunt that down. Closed at 737, is up at 760 right now. So getting a nice little 23-cent pop on this Piper upgrade.
Yeah, Pipers, they're pretty good in this space. A little, I don't know, if probably valuation or something like that, but popped up here to 777. Ooh, triple sevens here is what we hit in the pre-market before we started pulling back here. So we'll keep an eye. Let's look at it within the context of the daily charts. Real bad day yesterday when we had Mr. Sazian talking. They came out with that news that was construed. It sounded like good news to me, but hey, what do I know? It turned out to be bad news. Just our traders, if you're using previous support and resistance levels, old highs and lows, just yesterday you would have been okay. 737 and 738 were the lows that you had at the end of October. And where do we come down to yesterday and settle right there? 736 and 737 and traded double the volume that it had from the day before. So if you're looking at those old support and resistance points, you would have been able to cover a short or get long there. Brent, what do you got for us?
So this looks to be a little concerning. It looks like in direct opposition to what Sazi was saying yesterday, saying that the company's Q4 reiteration yesterday shows that the company is, quote, doing what they said they would do. Another quote out there: any retailer reiterating guidance following this compressed promotional mall traffic starved holiday season is a winner in our book.
Well, it's popping up here 23 cents on the report, so I'm not going to add anything to that here, speculating. We know how I feel about JC Penney. I'm more on the Sazi side of it all. I don't really love this company from a fundamental perspective at all. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to get bullish this thing until it gets above $8 because $8 was major support before. We took that out yesterday, and I think you're going to have sellers lining up there when you start getting close to $8.
Can we do real quickly before we move on? Can we do a ONVO update here,
Yes,
Dennis?
we can. JDOT ONVO is back. It's coming back. I've still got my shares. I am almost out of my options, so I'm probably going to dump the rest of my options today. I lightened up a little bit more on my option position yesterday. Into the pop, I was selling my 10 calls at $1.35. Today, I'm probably going to dump the rest of my 10 calls because those are for Jans, and I only have 6 days left with that. This thing gets up into the high 11s. I'm going to dump the rest of my calls. I am holding the stock, though, because of you, J. and also because Joel says this is going to be his pick for the stock of 2014.
I thought it was going to hang out near that $10 level a little bit longer. Noted the consolidation between 8 and 10, 8 and 10, 8 and 10, busted out there, went to 12, came back to 10. I thought it would hang out, test that, that $10 level a few more times. It didn't. Now, you're right. You're going to be stepping ahead of that 1205 high. Which you had on second, and then 1177 was a high on the third. So you are correct, sir. There's going to be some resistance in that $12 area. So you will need a high over 12, couple closes above 12 to confirm the move from 12 to 14. Just for our traders out there in the pre-market, did trade a measly 100 shares up there at 1170. So that's right near that 1177 high.
These analysts are all becoming pair traders here. Morgan Stanley downgrading Yum and upgrading McDonald's. Those two stocks, obviously, a lot of pair traders like to trade those together. McDonald's is moving up 75 cents here this morning, and Yum is moving down about $1.40. So Morgan Stanley, bearish Yum, bullish Mickey D's.
Where they come up with these ideas, I have no idea. But traded down to 75.10, just kind of sitting there. Really, no great volatile action. Had a nice run up to 77.33, and the dailies here is pretty interesting because you had that period of a gap up. See that gap up, and then it made a new all-time high at 77, and then you had 5 days basically of really narrow ranges and consolidation around 77 and a half, 78, and then you get all the way back up there, pretty close to that area, make a double top, 77, 21, 33, and then you fall out of bed here. There is some minor support at the $75 level. You had a 75 even low on the third. Below that, it opens up perhaps into the 74s. And then Mickey D's, didn't it get downgraded yesterday or something?
I believe they did. Who was downgrading?
They had
Mickey D's was downgraded by Wells Fargo yesterday,
Mickey
and
D's
Morgan
had a
Stanley
rating
says.
change today too.
Pardon me?
Mickey D's had a rating change today too at Morgan
Yeah,
Stanley.
that's what we were saying. Joe wasn't listening to the show, obviously.
wasn't.
Morgan
Sorry
Stanley
about
upgraded it today.
Back up.
Joe's-
Yeah, that's right. Joe, he was in
Well,
such a
oh.
good mood yesterday. He's probably going to be in a really bad mood today, so don't get upset.
Yeah, no, I just put him in a bad
Grumble,
mood.
grumble, grumble, grumble.
Grumble. That's maybe your stomach grumbling for Mickey D's there. Whenever you say Mickey D's, you know what? You can say Mickey D's is bad for you and everything, but you can't eat anywhere cheaper, and the food tastes damn good.
I
It
know,
really does. It
I-
really does. I'm a
I do
McDonald's
find
fan.
myself getting a wicked Big Mac craving from time to time.
Big Mac.
And then you eat it, and then you realize why you didn't eat it.
And then wait another 3 months until
You
I
just
have the
have to
next
eat
one.
it more often, then your stomach toughens up.
Oh,
So it's
Oh.
you people that go there like once a year and you go and like, oh, I feel so bad after McDonald's. Well, your stomach isn't tough enough. You got to toughen that stomach up. You eat that food, every other day, and then you get tougher. You can't eat it every or 3 times a day like they did on that. What was that show that they did where the guy was like his health went from
Super
being
size me.
Yeah, I
was a
never
movie.
saw
size,
that.
yeah.
I
But that was ridiculous. Yeah, he was eating 3 times a day
He
eating
had
at
3
McDonald's, and he had
meals
to
a day,
supersize it every time.
and he
he's
had
drinking all
to every time they asked him to supersize it, he had to, and he had to eat everything on the menu at some point.
He had to drink a liter of Coke.
Ugh.
Remember the
A
one?
liter of
Uh,
Coke.
Remember when he's sitting in the van finishing the meal and then he immediately throws it up afterwards because it's just too much food.
That was extreme. You know what? And I remember that too, actually. And that was back when the stock was like $25, and I was like, man, I don't know about buying this. And I was thinking about McDonald's for an investment back then. I was watching that movie. I was like, maybe the world is changing. Maybe they're not going to want to eat this type of food. Wrong. The stock's like quadrupled since that movie because it was down like $25 when that movie came out. So obviously Mickey D's still can, and now they got those whole McCafes too, so they're kind of fancy.
Yeah,
in there. You go in there-
they're too fancy for you, Dennis. They've
Yeah, a little bit. I like the dumps. I shop at the Kmart's and I shop at the Big Lots got too fancy for me, so maybe I should just start going to Kmart.
So
more.
now
I
we
like
know
the clothes
that
on the floor.
it's not Dale as your middle name; it's Dennis Deal Dick.
Oh, it always was. It was
Shopping
always
for a
deal.
deal.
I always try to find the deals. Me and Joel always try to find the deals. Although I'm a little bit
97,
more cheap.
97.
Like, I would always go to Big Lots when it was there, and I'd always look for that aspirin container that's all been smashed in because it fell off a pallet or something, and they're selling the aspirin jar for $1, and it's usually $4 or something. So I was like, it's just the container. I don't care about the container.
97 major resistance if this rally continues. We've hit
keep you going.
97.20 in the pre-market. I've always mentioned the story. My dad said McDonald's will never make it because who wants to buy a greasy burger and a bad cup of coffee for a nickel? He was wrong about that, and that television wouldn't make it. But
What other things weren't going to make it?
just
yeah, we'll start buying them.
he's passed away now, so that was just that and that, and also that where I get that Michigan will win the national championship in football every year. That's where his 3 predictions. So those have kind of gone by the wayside. But is there any other numbers we got? We're going to get Ronnie Moss on here in a few minutes here for an interview that I'm really looking forward to. Dennis, is there any other issues that we need to cover?
I can just fly through a few of them. There was lots of upgrades and downgrades here today. DuPont upgraded Bank America. NEM, Newmont downgraded Bank America. STI upgraded Bank America. CYN upgraded Bank America. Here's an interesting one. Sprint downgraded at Deutsche Bank here this morning. A lot of you guys like to trade those $10 stocks or those $9 stocks. And this stock that's been popping for the better part of December, ran from 8 up to 11, has consolidated multiple times here under 10. But look at this chart. Is that a head and shoulders, Joel?
What was the T-Mobile news yesterday? I know it was halted, and these companies are in cahoots together. Was there any major news coming out on T-Mobile and Sprint?
Yeah, they were. Let's see. T-Mobile was doing a lot of stuff at CES. Let me pull up the headlines really quickly here. They're issuing a whole bunch of preliminary sales figures, all those net additions, net subscribers. Let's see. We got T-Mobile says added 112 postpaid net subs in the 4th quarter. That was their best quarter in 8 years. They added 4.4 million net adds in 2013. It looks like the CEO I remember was on making the rounds on CNBC, on Bloomberg TV, going around doing some interviews from CES, getting a ton of attention yesterday.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to bring on Roddy Mouse, and he's the founder and director at Standpoint Research. He issued some downgrades that kind of rocked Wall Street here on Monday, and we're going to bring him on and discuss his downgrades and his philosophies on these stocks. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with you. Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Ronnie Moss on, founder and director at Standpoint Research. Published a controversial report on Monday regarding some big companies here. Created a firestorm of media, but Ronnie, we want to have you on today. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been a crazy week, and I think it's going to get more intense next week when I get to New York.
Okay, just starting out. I mean, I read your report, and it seems like you've had these feelings for quite some time, and it's I know when feel strongly about something, I got to get it out. It seems like you waited a while to do this. Is it it's been bothering you for quite some time? What made you pull the trigger on this report?
I think my blood has been, heating up for slowly over the last few years, and I think it came to a boil when I was in South America last month. I've visited more than 50 countries on 6 continents since 2007. I've also been in 25 of the states in this country, and I've been by myself the entire time. I've walked more than 3,000 miles during this trip around the world. And last month I was in Chile and Uruguay in South America. I was there for a week. I was walking by myself for 120 miles over a period of a week. And I've been conflicted, and I've had this on my conscience for a long time. And I think I just snapped when I heard recent headlines regarding Apple and Amazon and the tobacco industry. One sentence on each of those 3 that really has me fired up. Apple is sitting on $150 billion in cash right now. All I hear in the news is about activists trying to get them to give part of that $150 billion to their shareholders. And what's upsetting me is that there's not one person out out there telling Apple to pay a dividend to the employees in China who are treated like animals and committing suicide. For $2 an hour they're working, while Apple has built up this nest egg of $150 billion. With Amazon, it's a similar situation. Bezos is worth $27 billion, and his employees are not treated fairly, and they are not paid fairly in America in the warehouses that they put all the packages together. He was on a yacht in the Galapagos Islands with his $27 billion net worth, and his employees are running around the warehouse during Christmas time like rats without heads, obligated to fill like 150 packages an hour, and they get paid like $8-9 an hour after taxes. The situation with Philip Morris is it can't be defended. Just in China alone, tobacco is killing 1 million people a year, including 100,000 people from secondhand smoke. 300 million people in China are smoking right now, and 180 million children are exposed to the secondhand smoke. So I wanted to make a political statement. It was a one-time political statement that I made. I will push this for a couple of weeks, and then hopefully someone will pick up where I left off. But I decided to isolate these three companies in particular because I think this is the most extreme examples that I'm seeing right now.
Is there regulations over in China on the smoking like there is over in North America? Because obviously on North America and even in Canada, I'm over in Canada, they make you now put like stuff on the like pictures of people that have lung disease, or put pictures of lungs. They're basically, there's a lot more regulation now covering, to not promote smoking as much and to obviously tell everybody about the risks. Is that the same over in China?
Well, I was discouraged because, I didn't like the statistics that I was seeing. But then yesterday, I was really happy to see that the China Health Administration is going to put a public smoking ban into effect by the end of this year. And I think that's one of the reasons, Philip Morris stock has been breaking down lately. I think just like we laugh at people that lived 200 years before us, 100 years from now, tobacco will be illegal. There will be no tobacco. And people are going to be in disbelief when they find out how we were living today. The same way we can't believe how people lived before us, there's going to be a further move to the left, and you're going to see freedoms restricted to a certain extent when there's extreme violations of that freedom. And I think you're going to see a closing of the gap between the rich and poor, which is the main problem that I am focusing my attention right now on.
Now, but the thing is, obviously, if you choose to smoke, the risks are known out there. Obviously, and that's the main thing. Obviously, the risks are known. If they're known in all these other countries and you still choose to smoke, isn't that your own doing? So is it really on the company itself that's producing this product?
No, tobacco should be illegal. Michael Bloomberg came up with a number that this century 1 billion people with a B are going to be killed by tobacco if we don't stop it. And the freedom of choice argument does not apply here. Where is the freedom of choice for the people that are inhaling the secondhand smoke, the kids that have to inhale the smoke that their parents are blowing in their face? What happens when these kids and grandchildren are left without parents and grandparents who are taken away from them at age 55 or 60 from lung cancer? A lot of people in this world are uneducated. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, Philip Morris now has a brand of cigarettes in the Philippines, and the name of the cigarette package is Hope, H-O-P-E, okay? There are a lot of people in this world that think they're going to look like the Marlboro Man or the model on the Virginia Slims box, or they are fooled by the marketing gimmicks that these companies use. They can't get away with it in this country anymore, so they're moving overseas and targeting naive people and uneducated people in third world countries that don't know they have a 30% chance to die from lung cancer before age 65 if they pick up the first cigarette.
Hey, Ronnie, Tim B's coming in here with some pretty good points, and obviously Apple's not the only company that's taking advantage of cheap labor in Asia and other places. I mean, are you gonna downgrade every single company that assembles products or takes advantages of cheap labor? That hasn't it been kind of been a trend in our U.S. companies to take advantage over cheap labor overseas?
Yes, well, we have a problem when I travel, and like I told you, I've been in more than 50 countries on 6 continents. When I am in countries that do not place value on material things, you do not see unethical and immoral behavior. It's at a very, very low level. When you have a country like the United States, where that is the only focus on material items and profit at the end of every quarter, there is pressure to act in immoral and unethical ways. And I'm only isolating these 3 companies because they are extreme examples, and I'm trying to make a statement. There is no sector in this economy that is innocent. I could have blacklisted Nike. I could have blacklisted the hospitals. I could have blacklisted the energy companies. I could have blacklisted the banks. I could blacklist 3/4 of the companies on the stock exchange. Okay? There is no company that is clean as far as I'm concerned. When you have extreme forms of capitalism, instead of asking the CEOs every 90 days how much money they made, we need to start asking them how they made the money and what they had to do in order to hit that number that Wall Street pressured them into hitting when they reported their quarterly results. I'm not anti-capitalism. I'm not anti-freedom. I'm just upset that I think we've gone over the deep end and we need to get back a little bit and put more of a focus on the poor and the people that are being taken advantage of, and have some kind of ethic or moral guidelines, because there are some companies that are just doing things overseas that would have had them thrown in jail if they did it in this country. And they're engaged in illegal activity. The problem is they're doing it in countries where it has not yet become illegal to behave in that manner.
I mean, there's a lot of people that take these stances on companies and come out but how do you act in your own daily life? I mean, Tim's pointing out, do you tip waitresses, huge amounts because you want them to have a better life? How does, your views, do you make that translate into your daily life?
I practice what I preach. There are very few people as generous as I am. There are very few people that give such a disproportionate amount of what they have to charities and philanthropies. And every year that goes by, and my business has been growing now for 6 or 7 consecutive years, there is no one on Wall Street that has a track record to match mine. Over the last 5 years, every one of my 400 recommendations was time-stamped by Bloomberg and Dow Jones. And my business is doing really well. And I am not a materialistic person. If I can keep this 2-bedroom apartment that I'm renting in Miami Beach for $2,800 a month, I would stay here for the next 40 years. And any money that comes in on top of what my basic living expenses are, I give away. I don't expect other people to act the way I do, but to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or millions of dollars a year and not to give anything back, those are the people I have a problem with. And if they're not going to give voluntarily, then we have to raise taxes on them. That's the only way to do it.
I mean, I give you props for everything you're saying. I mean, if people were to do the stuff that you're saying them to do, the world would be a better place. There's no doubt about it. The problem is with obviously we can go back to this, child labor. We can go into, the cheap labor that they can get down over in China and paying these, companies $2 a day. But the problem is if like Apple stops doing it or Amazon stops doing it, all of a sudden they can't compete with the other companies that are doing it. So in order for them to stop doing it,
that's where you're wrong. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to double the minimum wage. If you do that, you put White Castle out of business. Okay, I understand that. But Apple is a situation where they should be leading by example instead of making excuses. Okay, a company that builds up a nest egg of $150 billion should not be paying their employees $2 or $3 an hour. They could be cutting those people a check right now for $10 billion, and nobody would even notice that money coming out of their bank account. They would end up changing the lives overnight of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And instead, these people live like dogs. Not only are they not paid to do the work that they're doing jobs that most people in America would choose death over the work that those people are doing on the assembly lines. I don't know if you've ever worked on an assembly line or tried to live off of $3 an hour, but death is a better option for many people. But because they have children and people that are depending on them, they just go through the grind and live out their life. And maybe it's some words from the Bible that keeps them going, or the smiles on their children's faces when they go home. But the bottom line is Apple is sitting on $150 billion, and their employees are being treated like animals. And there's been dozens of suicides already, and nobody's talking about it. If the management at Apple would treat American employees the way they treat their employees in Asia, they'd be thrown in jail. And that's the bottom line, and there's no way to defend their behavior, not with the Constitution and not with any of the arguments that I've heard.
Okay, Roddy, let's go in a little different direction here. I mean, Standpoint Research ranks as #1 on Motley Fool's analyst rankings. Also, your firm has had an accuracy rate near 70%, which is extremely high, a lot better than my trading. And you've issued close to 400 reports. And now you're coming out with these recommendations, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really no regard for the fundamentals behind the company. So you're responsible to your clients. How are your clients reacting to this?
There has been no reaction, actually. The reaction has been coming from online. People my website has been hit 3,000 times in 2 days, which is what I would normally get in 6 months. I had one client that cut me off because he was on the far right, and he didn't agree with my political views and didn't want to listen to them anymore. And I think he realizes now that he made a mistake, but he's a proud person, and he's not the type of person that's going to admit that he was wrong and apologize, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. As far as the reaction from my clients goes, I think everybody understands that I am making valid points that are hard to argue against. But, most people are saying, but we live in America, and it's a capitalist society, and I'm like, so what? That doesn't mean you can act without any laws or guidelines in your behavior. And we see this all the time. It's all over the news. And I think this is a conversation that is going to move to the forefront. And I have a dozen media requests to film next week. The Wall Street Journal wants to interview me at their headquarters. Fortune magazine wants to interview me. I have television appearances on Bloomberg, Fox, and CNBC, and I've already done a half a dozen interviews this week. And I think enough is enough. I don't know any normal, civilized, compassionate, sensitive person with a heart that would not be infuriated by what's going on. I have a different view because I've written reports on every single sector in the economy, dozens of reports on every single sector. And because of my travels around the world, I see the way other people live. And I come back here, and sometimes I'm ashamed and embarrassed by what I see. There's no reason on earth that we should have a Gini coefficient in the bottom third in the world. That's a measure of inequality and the gap between rich and poor. I don't understand why CEOs are making 100 to 1,000 times what their lowest paid workers are earning. It makes no sense to me, and that has to change. And hopefully it will change, and I believe that it will. I think the pressure is going to rise, and there's going to be a shift towards the left from where we are right now, and we are going to ultimately and eventually end up raising anyone that's below the poverty line above the poverty line without hurting anyone. There is a way to do this without hurting anyone.
What is that way? Like, how do you do this without like hurting those shareholders, though? Like, for instance, like the Philip Morris
the way to do
shareholders.
this is to encourage more philanthropic and charitable giving, and anybody that's not doing it voluntarily, then we have to tax them. That there are people. There's a few. If you take the top 1% in this country, they are sitting on tens of trillions of dollars. We don't even need a fraction of that to solve the poverty problem that we have in this country. Not only will we be able to wipe out poverty in this country, there would be money left over to solve the problem in countries outside of the U.S.
Now you mentioned
And
these top three companies that you've targeted. Now, are you going to stop at these three? Are you going to take this activism to another step, or are you just going to leave it here with these three companies? And you figure if you can get something going in the right direction with them, then it will spill over. Or are there other companies on the radar?
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this as far as I can in the next week. I don't know whether I want to go onto the major networks because I don't think I would be able to handle, any more death threats than I've already received, and
Death
any more
threats
hits to my website. And yeah, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's email, it's hits on the website, it's phone calls, and
People are giving you death threats for this?
Of course. I had 3,000 visitors at my website, and, half of them are on the right. And a few of those people, have the IQs of imbeciles. And, it's a numbers game. If you say something in this country, half of the country is not going to agree with what you're saying. And 1 or 2% of that 50% are, they have to have their heads examined. So, and I understand that, and I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's unfortunate that there are some people in this world that, paparazzi, some paparazzi want to take a celebrity's photo when they have makeup on, and they put that on the front page of the magazine. And then there are other people that want to catch the celebrity without the makeup on their face and put that on the cover of the magazine. And there's all kinds of people in this world, and I'm getting such strong support from the lower and middle classes, people crying to me on the phone and thanking me for what I did on Monday when I went on CNBC and asking me to please keep pushing forward with this, because there are tens of millions of people in this country that are just not appreciated, and they are undervalued by everyone else. And, we don't appreciate taxi drivers and cashiers and waitresses and store clerks, and people that are working for minimum wage are just taken for granted and not appreciated in this country. And it has to change. I don't think I'm any better than a taxi driver or someone working at McDonald's. And I don't understand why someone at McDonald's has to work 60, 70 hours a week and not be able to survive. They live like animals, people that work for minimum wage. And then there's other people that are putting in less hours, working at jobs that are a lot less strenuous, making 100 times what they're making. And if these companies that are paying minimum wage can't afford to raise the minimum wage, which is true in many instances, then we have to raise taxes on the people that are making a lot of money and subsidize the wages that these poor people are getting paid. And, anybody that has a problem taking, an extra 5 or 10% out of a 7-figure paycheck that they're getting at the end of the year needs to have their head examined, in my opinion. I just think it's selfish, it's greedy, and there's no defense for that kind of behavior. We need to take those people, this small fringe element within the upper class that's causing the problem, and let them trade places with the people making minimum wage and living in the slums, and let me know after a few weeks whether they change their tune or not. My guess is that they will. You have people in the upper class, some of them, not all of them, many of the philanthropists and the most generous people I know are wealthy people, but there are some selfish and greedy elements within the upper class that have completely disconnected emotionally, physically, and financially from the poor, and are just completely oblivious to the way these people are living. And it's a tragedy, and it's something that's been going on for hundreds of years. And 100 years from now, hopefully the situation will be much better. But I can assure you people are going to look down at us 100 years from now and be in disbelief at how we ran our society the way it's being run today.
Now, you've obviously, we've talked about the Amazon, the Philip Morris, and the Apple, companies that might be doing it wrong. Are there any companies that are doing it right out there under your standards? Like, is there some companies that are actually, operating morally and ethically correct? And which, if there is, which companies are those?
I'm sure they are, but I don't spend time examining companies and their behavior. It's impossible to do that. It's a full-time job just doing what I do. So I know that most companies, I don't know if it's 20% or 40% or 60% or 80%. I think they're doing the right thing. They're trying to treat their employees fairly. Most of the people are good, but in my opinion, when a company gets to the size of a Nike or an Amazon or an Apple, you have to ask yourself what they did in order to get to that position. In my opinion, when somebody reaches a position of power like that, they probably were stepping on people along the way to get to that point. You have to have a really competitive and aggressive nature in order to get to a point like that, usually, where you win a competition. I don't want to use the guy that won the Tour de France 6 or 7 times as an example, but I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. But it makes you wonder. They say we have the richest country in the world. What I want to know is what did we do, and how did we behave in order to get to that point? And, it says in the Bible that money is the root of all evil. It drives people to act in unethical and immoral ways. And we see this in this country over and over and over again. It's in the banks, it's in the energy sector, it's in the healthcare sector, it's in the consumer staple sector, and it's in the consumer discretionary sector. You can just go down the list, and there's violations across the board in every single sector. And
Have you,
I don't know what...
Have you heard from the companies yet? Have the companies responded to you? And if so, what did they say? Any word from Tim Cook give you a call? or...
No, none of the 3 companies have contacted me. I've gotten hundreds of messages, but it's mainly people that admire me and they want me to be their friend on Facebook or Twitter or Seeking Alpha. But the companies have not contacted me yet. They may be forced to make a statement by the end of next week. I don't know whether they will react to something that's on a cable television station, but it's going to be my decision ultimately if I want to take this to ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, okay? Then that might be something high profile that they are forced to react to.
And what I think people have to understand is that you're making this based on moral grounds. This is something that's bothered you and you had to get off your chest. I mean, you're not demonizing the entire U.S. capitalism. This is just something that you have felt strongly about, and you put your views out there. Now, this is a democratic society we have. If people don't have to agree with you, right? You're just putting your...
Right, absolutely.
Right. What about a company
I respect everybody's opinion, but I don't know why anybody would have a problem with me saying the same thing that Obama said in 2008. The top 1-2% need to be doing a little bit more. The poor and the middle class and the middle class and the lower class are carrying a disproportionate amount of the weight on their shoulders in this society. And, I respect everyone. I don't have a problem if someone wants to buy a $10 million mansion or a $200,000 car. I just wish that their giving would be in proportion to their spending. In other words, if you want to take a $200,000 car to work every day, I don't have a problem with that, but it would be nice if before they bought the $200,000 car, they went and bought 5,000 pairs of shoes at $10 a pop to put on the feet of children that don't even have shoes to wear when they go to school. So that's my whole point, and I don't know why that would upset anyone unless they were just selfish, greedy, and just completely disconnected from what the real world is going through right now. There's people that live in these bubbles and, in these wealthy neighborhoods, and they have no idea what is going on in the poor neighborhoods. I just got a letter from a reverend in New York, and he said, Ronnie, please help us. We have kids that are 12 years old taking guns to school. This is in Queens, New York, okay? 12-year-old kids taking guns to school for protection, okay? The people in the upper class neighborhoods don't understand that we have people in this country living with rats, roaches, abusive parents, alcoholic parents, drug addict parents. They can't walk out at night after sundown, and there's no activities for them because there's no community centers for them to do anything. So it's either go into a gang or stay at home. They feel that they have no hope in life, and they're just born with 3 strikes against them. And I feel that there's a lot of people in the upper class that have completely disconnected out of pure selfishness. I don't know how else to put it. I can't put it in easy terms. It's just selfishness and greed, and as a society, there needs to be a collective effort to change the whole mentality here. I don't understand why someone needs to live in a $10 million house or a $20 million house when there's people that are sleeping in the street. Let's take the people off the street first, feed the hungry children, put clothes on their backs, and then do whatever you want with whatever money is left over. But for someone to be living, like the king of whatever country, like the king of Italy or Greece or whatever country you want to use, and at the same time, there's people a few blocks away that are struggling to survive, and they go to bed at night with stomach pains because they're hungry. I don't understand how. It's mind-boggling to me that we can have things going on like that in a country like this.
Moscow
this is
from
not
the
a
chat.
poor country. Our GDP per capita is in the top 10 in the world. We have money here that's being wasted that could be wiping out the problem that we have in poverty with room to spare. And that's all I'm just trying to get to that point. And I know that we will, but if nobody talks about it the way I am and the way other people are, the Pope is talking about it right now. So I think some people are not going to criticize me as quickly because I'm kind of hiding behind him right now.
You got the Pope.
And,
you're hiding behind the Pope's robe. I think that's a pretty good cover there.
Right.
And what about Walmart?
And God bless him. I don't know why it took an entire lifetime for me to see someone come out the way that he came out. It's amazing. And I just hope he sticks around for a few years and that he is relentless. And I think he will get a lot done between now and the end of his service.
What about Walmart? I mean, you hear a lot of things with their employees in the news, not so much overseas, but what's going on in the United States. Were they like the 4th one on your list there that you write about, or
they're probably in the eyes of my what's the word, the little thing that you look through on the top of the gun.
The scope?
They're on my radar for next year. I think what I'll do is I'll stick with these 3. I will get the conversation going, and the minute I see that it dies down, which it probably will 6 months or a year from now, then I'll do the same thing next January that I did this week.
Okay. Wow.
That's
Okay.
it.
So we've covered the spectrum here. You've got this off your chest, and we're very glad that you came on. I think people have to understand that everyone has opinions. I mean, a lot of the great leaders in our country and in our world came out with opinions that weren't popular at the time, but years later ended up coming to fruition. So, you've made some very bold statements here, and I think you need to be commended for taking the stance that you did. The people that are making these threats to you are definitely there's no reason for it. It's your opinion. This is what our country is about, and it's great, Ronnie. I'm really glad that you came on the show today. Thanks for sharing your research with us. I hope that the firestorm kind of cools down for you a little bit, and could, if it's possible.
No, the firestorm is good. That's what I want. And I just want to make one thing clear. I wrote a 40-page report. You and I have only scratched the surface. And I don't want people to take anything out of context from what I just said, because people like to do that nowadays with the internet. And a lot of the questions you asked me, I gave you very brief answers to that I elaborate on in this 40-page report that I wrote. And even that was not long enough, in my opinion. I probably should have spent 2 months on it and not 2 weeks. But my clients are waiting for stock recommendations,
Okay.
not political views. And again, up until 50 years ago, there was segregation in this country. 150 years ago, slavery was accepted. The people that signed the Constitution thought that slavery was okay. So just like I told you before, just as we are in disbelief at the way people before us lived, people are going to be looking at us the same way 50 to 100 years from now. And 50 to 100 years from now, we will be more left than where we are right now. But and that's it. I think we've just gone to an extreme, and we need to get back on track and do the right thing. And people need to stop focusing so much on their own lives and look at what they can be doing to help other people at the same time.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing your opinions with us here on Benzinga's pre-market info show brought to you by OptionsHouse. We will definitely have you back again. Take care. We look forward to seeing you on these other media outlets, and keep up the good work. If this is what you feel is right in your heart, I commend you for getting it out there to the public. So have a good day, and we'll be back with you soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I don't know, Joe. How are you going to follow that with the headlines?
You know what? I'm not really sure if I can or not. Maybe I should have Ronnie read them because, that was something else, wasn't it? Everyone is entitled to their opinion, no matter how strong or controversial, right? And we certainly riled up some of the people here in the chat, which is pretty cool. Thanks for everyone for participating and asking questions. We'd love to have Ronnie back on. He'll be on CNBC, Bloomberg, and the Willis Report next week. Bloomberg TV and all of that. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the schedule, so you can catch them on there as well. Now we're going to shift it over to today's editorial headlines from around the globe, everybody. Combined profit at the 6 largest U.S. banks jumped in 2013 to the highest level since 2006, even as the firms allocated more than $18 billion to deal with claims that they broke laws or cheated investors. A stock market rally, cost cuts, and a decline in bad loans boosted the group's net income 21% to $74.1 billion, according to analyst estimates compiled by Bloomberg. That's second only to 2006, when the firms reaped $84.6 billion at the peak of the U.S. housing bubble. The record would have been topped were it not for litigation and other legal expenses. Wall Street's largest banks, set to report fourth quarter earnings starting January 14th, are contending with fresh accusations that they misled buyers of mortgage-backed securities, rigged markets, or turned a blind eye to suspicious activity by customers. J.P. Morgan Chase Chief Executive Officer Jamie Dimon, whose company announced more than $23 billion in settlements of government and private disputes in the past 12 months, has said legal expenses at his firm will remain high. Macy's is cutting 2,500 jobs as part of a reorganization to sustain its profitability. The announcement comes on the heels of a strong holiday shopping season for the department store chain. Macy's said on Wednesday that it will reassign or transfer some workers and add some positions, leaving its workforce level at about 175,000. The Cincinnati-based company plans to close 5 stores and open 8 others, leaving it with 844 stores nationwide once the changes are complete. Macy's says the moves will save it $100 million per year and forecast a 2014 profit above Wall Street forecasts. WWE Network, the first ever 24/7 streaming network, will launch live in the United States on Monday, February 24th, featuring all 12 WWE live pay-per-view events valued at more than $600 per year for $9.99 per month with a 6-month commitment. The announcement was made Wednesday during the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. WWE Network will also include groundbreaking original programming, reality shows, documentaries, classic matches, and more than 1,500 hours of video on demand at launch. For a limited time, a 1-week free trial will be offered. More lending companies are mining Facebook, Twitter, and other social media data to help determine a borrower's creditworthiness or identity, a trend that is raising concerns among consumer groups and regulators. Lending companies, some of which are backed with venture funding from Google Ventures, the venture capital arm of Google, and Excel Partners, an early Facebook investor, are looking at potential problems such as whether applicants put the same job information on their loan application as they posted on LinkedIn, or if they shared on Facebook that they had been let go by an employer. A small business that draws negative reviews on eBay could also undermine its chances of getting more credit, lending companies say. The practice is being used largely by startups that grant smaller loans, but the concept seems likely to spread. Fair Isaac, which provides the credit scoring used in more than 90% of lenders' decisions, says it is weighing possibilities for incorporating social media. Samsung will release its Galaxy S5 smartphone by April this year and is studying using eye scanner technology for the first time as it readies the high-end handset to compete with Apple's iPhones. The S5 will be paired with a new wearable device that will be an evolution of the Galaxy Gear smartwatch, Lee Young-hee, executive vice president of the company's mobile business, said in a January 6th interview. Samsung, which posted profit this week that missed analyst estimates, will debut the new products together as it also boosts marketing of tablet computers. Apple and Samsung have agreed to attend a mediation session to be held on or before February 19th as they prepare to clash in court in March over smartphone patents. Apple CEO Tim Cook and Samsung CEO Ah Hyun Kwon will attend the session with in-house lawyers only, according to a Wednesday court filing. Their legal teams had met on January 6 to discuss settlement opportunities, the filing read. Apple and Samsung are embroiled in a legal battle over smartphone patents across several countries that mirrors their global battle for supremacy in the mobile device market. The technology rivals are facing a March trial date in the United States over Apple's claims that Samsung infringed on its patents. In the last 2 years, Apple and Samsung have gone to trial twice in San Jose, California federal court, and juries have awarded Apple a total of roughly $930 million. Consumers Energy reports record demand for natural gas by its Michigan customers, featuring this week's deep freeze. The unit of Jackson-based CMS Energy says it set a new hourly record for natural gas delivery on Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., delivering 146,367 million cubic feet of natural gas to homes and businesses. That broke its previous record by about 300, set in 1996. Pitchers Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine and slugger Frank Thomas were elected to baseball's Hall of Fame on Wednesday, while Craig Biggio fell 2 votes short, and tainted stars of the steroid era remain far behind. Maddux was picked on 555 of 571 ballots by senior members of Baseball Writers Association of America. His 97.2 average was the 8th highest in the history of voting.
Tom Glavine, not Tom Levine.
Oh, sorry, Glavin, not Glavine.
You made him sound Jewish.
What can I say? I mean,
That's
apologies.
okay, Joe. That's your lack of sports knowledge. But that
Lack of sports knowledge and a fluent Jewish social network. Ariana Huffington and the billionaire investor Nicholas Berggruen, I think that's right, Berggruen, apologies if I'm saying it wrong again, on Wednesday announced the launch of WorldPost, a comment and news website that looks set to become a platform for some of the most powerful people on the planet. Inevitably, the WorldPost will be launched at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland this month. Davos. We'll get there. Many of its contributors include former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, Microsoft's Bill Gates, and Google's Eric Schmidt, are regulars at the annual Jamboree for the world's most connected people. They are also advisors to the Berggruen Institute, the billionaire investor's nonpartisan policy think tank. Berggruen, known as the homeless billionaire because he prefers living in hotels to owning houses, said the 50-50 venture with Huffington Post owner AOL would not just be a platform for the world's elite. You have to start somewhere, he said. A lot of these people are knowledgeable. On the other hand, you will see a lot of unknown voices, young voices, and from places that are not obvious, Berggruen said WorldPost would be run for profit Huffington said that 42% of Huffington Post's 94 million unique visitors each month come from outside the U.S. Just over 2 years ago, we didn't have an international edition anywhere, Huffington said. Today's trivia tidbit. On this day in 2007, Steve Jobs unveils the iPhone at the Macworld Convention in San Francisco, where he described it as a revolutionary and magical product that is literally 5 years ahead of any other mobile phone. More than 200 million units have been sold since. So, today's trivia question, if anyone's out there listening, Jobs dropped out of college and started work at Atari in 1974, but where was his first job? Does anyone know where Steve Jobs' first job before Atari was?
Microsoft?
Do I have it, Shubs? Yep. In the chat, is anyone out there? Jake, Brent, anyone?
Crickets?
I think we have crickets.
What is it?
Well, when Steve Jobs was in 8th grade, he decided to build a frequency counter for a school project and needed parts. Someone suggested that he call Bill Hewlett. Finding a William Hewlett in the telephone book, the 12-year-old Jobs called and asked, "Is this the Bill Hewlett of Hewlett-Packard?" To which Hewlett responded, "Yes." Jobs made his request. Bill spent some time talking to him about his project. Several days later, Jobs went to HP and picked up a bag full of parts that Bill had put together for him. Subsequently, Jobs landed a summer position at Hewlett-Packard. That wraps it up for today's trivia tidbit, and we're going to say that this show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse, who will give you 150 commission-free trades just for signing up for an account through this page. There's links at the top, at the bottom right. Go ahead, click on them, sign up with an account for OptionsHouse, get 150 commission-free trades just because you listen to Benzinga's pre-market info. The opening bell has rung, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm handing it over. Where am I handing it?
Jake and Joel. The Jake and Joel Show.
The Jake and Joel Show. Yeah, no more Joe now. I'm going to hand it over to Jake. He's going to let us know about some movers that occurred before the opening bell. And Jake, are you there?
Yes, I sure am.
What's going on, man?
Well, just kind of watching the markets like usual, getting things ready for the day. Watching the news that's coming out there. Got a couple stocks on the move
I'm
this
watching.
month.
I'm
What are you watching?
I'm watching the picket lines outside the Benzinga headquarters
After that interview.
After that interview.
Yeah, definitely seeing the picket lines for me in some chats, I'll tell you that. We do have some action going on today. Definitely Macy's moving to the upside this morning after announcing they're going to cut 3,500 workers after the close yesterday. I think it was 2,500. I think I got that number wrong. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up the exact headlines right now. Laying off 2,500 employees. They reaffirmed their fiscal year 2014 EPS forecast, which was at 440 to 450 a share. But they did say their November and December comparable sales were up 3.6%. So definitely some positive headlines there. Traders are loving it. Stifel Nicholas maintained their buy in the company, raised the price target to $64.
Wow.
And we had BMO Capital Markets upgrading the company to an outperform rating while bumping that price target to $70. Seeing shares, they were up as much as 7% a minute ago, still above that $55 level. Macy's on a run. I mean, if you want to look at brick and mortar retailers, I don't know if there's a stronger name than Macy's right now. Joel, any thoughts here?
Well, real quickly, technically we hit 55.84 in the pre-market. We haven't hit that level yet, so keep an eye on that, 55.84. Secondly, they're brick and mortar, but my wife is ordering stuff from there right and left on their online, so that's the reason they're doing better is they really have beefed up their online presence. They have some, I don't know, some stuff. I just see Macy packages coming to the door every day or every other day. I wanted, before you move on to some of the other stocks, we're getting a lot of stuff here coming out of the chat room, and I just want to cover them real quick. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, a pick of Tim Melvin. That stock is holding above the $4 level. You really haven't been able to get a driver. Looks like it's trying to break out. It could do it today. Two highs, 425, 426. You get a break, get above that level, you have a breakout, you could be trading up to 460. Another issue I think that Tim was looking at was Facebook. We'll see how that's trading. I see Twitter's trading up in the market, so let's see. We'll get a quick look at Facebook. Key level right here, we hit 58.96 right here. I guess I should have been talking to you sooner here as we're trading up on the session. 58.96, new all-time high here for Facebook. Looking at it, if you're from the breakout perspective here, I don't know. If you're buying stocks that are moving up, I guess this is one of them. I just new all-time high. Might be some size there at 59 kicking around. You did gap up from 48.51 to 58.59. So I don't know. Little tough call on that one. And then Apple, I guess you're not going to buy it if you were listening to Ronnie today. But Apple's just kind of been bouncing around after it broke down through the 350 level. Let me take a look at the dailies. Looks like you're running into, you're trying to break out here. Just look at these three highs that you had at right at the 345, 545. 546 level. Still kind of struggling there. 46.80 was the high on the 6. 46.86 was the high today. So looks like it's still kind of range bound here, kind of pressing up against the upper end of the range. And then the last stock, Jake, before I let you get back here, Xerox making a move here. A low price stock, but man, mound of resistance here, 1221, 1223 here. That's basically been the highs in the move. Also, it right here at 1230, 1225, 1230. So, I mean, it's bumping against resistance, I guess, as long as the whole $12 looking to go north. So, sorry about that ramble, Jake. What else do we got going on?
Well, remember how we had that 10% drop in JCPenney yesterday? Shares got absolutely crushed after the company reaffirmed its fourth quarter outlook. It didn't really look all that bad to me, to be honest, but I guess traders were expecting them to boost their guidance rather than just reaffirm it. Traders were quite disappointed in that bid it down by 10%. Well, or offered it down 10%. My mistake. We did see an upgrade this morning on the wires from Piper Jaffray, bumping the company to an overweight rating while maintaining that $11 price target. Nothing too exciting to report. Basically saying that the pullback was a great buying opportunity for the shares. And then I think Brent's handing me over here something real quick, but I did see the upgrade from Piper Jaffray. And so we see the shares are up 4.3% roughly right now, maybe aiming at that $8 level even. I don't know. Opened up a little bit higher, a little bit of a pullback right now from its open, but looking kind of strong this morning.
JCP, we mentioned it closed right on its low. Maybe this technician was looking at the support, the 737, 738 level, closed right there. And now it's bumping up. It looks like it's kind of free reign up here to fill the gap up at the $8 window or $8 level. Kyle must be long a lot of Ford here because he is just pressing me for Ford numbers. Some good news on the wires with they increased their dividend here. Keeping Alan Mulally, $16 is your level, Kyle, to look at. You wanted to bust through 16. 16 is your high so far in the session. It gapped down from that level when it issued some bad news back in the 17th and 18th of this month. So trying to get 16, probably some size around there. Dennis, if you could let us know if there's any size there at 16 in the book. But you can see it's pretty wide open if it can get above the $16 level.
Another one Brent just threw across the desk to me. I know I was mentioning a second ago that he was kind of waving his arms all over the place, but Ford is on the move this morning. Shares up about 2.9% last time I'm looking here. They bumped up their quarterly dividend this morning from 10 cents to 12.5 cents a share. So, a little bit of a dividend boost there. Like you said, that Alan Mulally is looking great to it. So, Ford looking strong this morning. Definitely interesting to look at there. Joel, what do you think of some of the other automakers, though? Like General Motors and, obviously, Chrysler isn't public yet, but, what exactly are we looking at there?
Just Kyle, there's probably a couple 100,000 there. I don't have the open book up here, but probably a couple 100,000 is all you need to keep a stock like Ford down. GM's been range bound here. Dipped down to 39 when it had some bad news the other day, but GM is approaching a major resistance level. Multiple highs between 40.94 and 41.06, got up to 40.94 today. So in order to confirm another leg up in GM here, it needs to take out the resistance at major resistance at 41, and then perhaps move up to the all-time high in the issue. All-time high in General Motors was 41.85, but just, and I kind of The Ford to me kind of has a little bit more upside than than the GM, but you have to make that assessment on your own.
Alrighty. Another one I want to take a look at is Bed Bath & Beyond. I know we're hitting a lot of retailers here, but they did report earnings yesterday. That's bravo, 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 Yankee. Don't leave out one of those B's or else you're getting Best Buy. So Bed Bath & Beyond did report earnings after the close yesterday. EPS came in at $1.12 versus $1.15 expected. Revenues came in at $2.86 billion, missing expectations of $2.89 billion. But I don't think that's exactly what traders are focusing on. The company lowered its fiscal year guidance for EPS to 479 to 486 a share. The street was looking for over $5. The street was looking for 501. The company's previous guidance was 588 to 501. So that fiscal year not looking so hot. Fourth quarter lowering it to 160 to 167. Street was looking for 179. The previous guidance was 170 to 177. So lowered guidance for both fiscal year and fourth quarter, missing on the earnings there. Traders are not too happy about this and offering it down.
Yeah, the 72 was holding up in the pre-market. It opened there and then gave out immediately here. So going down to a 70.55 low. Looking at the weekly charts here, the stock has not been at this area since going back to the end of June here, but don't think we'll see that 67.58 today. If you are playing this thing from the short side or trying to get crazy with the long, if it came back through the opening print 72.26, a high 72.26, I think you'd get some shorts headed for the exits here if you could get above that. If not, I would not be trying to, unless I was short, I would not be trying to buy this thing on the downside.
You know, another company that reported earnings recently, actually this morning, was Family Dollar. Foxtrot, Delta, Oscar, for anyone following along on their own charts. Company did report EPS of 68 cents versus 69-cent estimate. Revenues coming in at $2.5 billion versus $2.51 billion estimate. So a little bit of a miss there. Going to check up on the guidance there. For the fiscal year 2014, they guided 325 to 355 a share. The street was looking for 398, so it was a little disappointing to the street. Their prior guidance was 380 to 415, so not so hot on the guidance there. The Q2 guidance that they just released was 85 to 95 cents a share. Street was looking for $1.22. So Family Dollar missing on the top line, missing on the bottom line, lowering its fiscal year 2014 EPS guidance and lowering its Q2 2014 EPS guidance. Not so hot on a report there. Joel, what do you think of Family Dollar?
We did talk about that in the pre-market, how they got beat down to 59.50, and I just didn't think it would see that level again. Started to move up smartly right after that 59.50 level. It started the session almost $2 above that at 61.24. Dipped briefly under 61, and now it's heading north. Really no major resistance here. You know, it's wide open. I mean, you have the gap from 63.20 all the way up to 64.73. I think if you come back down again here anywhere near that $61 area, you will find some buyers way ahead of that pre-market low. And just one other one, Brent, is you guys are just peppering me with questions here. I'm going to need to take a nap after this show. ATHX, and I'm trying to get the getting it pulled up here. I'll see if I can pull it up.
ATHX, you said?
ATHX.
Alrighty.
I don't know. Let's see what we can do.
Got some
here.
new patents in Japan for stem cell regenerative medicine technology this morning. That crossed the wires around 7 a.m.
Okay, gapped up. I mean, if you were, trying to buy it near yesterday's high, you would have had to come a nickel off that because gapped up from 397 to 401. Just keep an eye. 433 was the high that you made right off the hop, so I think might get some seller's remorse if we come back up there. If we can get above that area, boy, this is uncharted territory for this one here, right? Actually, if you go back, if you guys remember, back in January of 2010, this thing hit 440 and real volatile trading back then. So that could be the next stopping point. And I just got to look at this ICPT. I don't think I've seen a move like this in a long time. Wow, we talked about whole numbers. That took out 200 and went to 300. Hit a high of 305. So, whew, what a move for that issue. What else you got for us, Jake?
Well, let me hit the list. I'm trying to think of what the most important here is. I know we did have Twitter on the move this morning. I feel like we got to look at that one every morning because it's just all over the place. All right, it's up now. It was down this morning. It's up 1% now. It's nearing that $60 level though, which I think is kind of interesting. 59.90 is last trade I saw. Now it's at 59.88. So a little bit of a rally here, maybe nearing that psychological level. Joel, this is a trader's paradise right now because there's nothing fundamental on it out there. It's just pure sentiment. So I mean, basically, if you can read a chart with this, you're probably gonna be able to do fairly well. Joel, what do you think on Twitter? I mean, is it just nuts? Is there a way to trade
No,
this? I
I'll
mean,
tell you right now. For Twitter shareholders, I'd have to urge a little bit of caution here because the first time you had that big sell-off when Sarah won our inner office pool here, you went to 58.57. Closed at 60.51 that day, but you rallied $10 off that level. You got all the way back over 70, and now this time you came back down yesterday and you hit 57.92. But since hitting that 57.92 level, you hit 61.26 yesterday, and you've only hit 60.81 today. So there ain't no wicked rebound now off this low. And a lot of times when you see a stock hit a support level, not give the same kind of reaction that it did the last time, I think sellers are starting to gang up on this one. I'm happy, even though I let go of my 65 puts earlier in the week. This thing is looking weak here. I'd see perhaps maybe 55 if you can take out that 57.92 low.
well, Joel, I can't believe it, but it's already 9:46. I can't even hit
Oh,
any more movers here. Just out of nowhere, just having so much fun. This show just already hit its limit. So, Joel, I don't know if you want to give us a quick outlook on the futures here, but we got to shut down the studio here. So, any final thoughts here, Joel?
S&Ps, they got that bump overnight. Didn't take out the pre-market high, which was 1839. We hit 1838. Now we're kind of settling back here to those old tops. So I'm looking for support here at the old resistance. Lower risk trade here at 1834 and a half, 1835. Perhaps a stop below the close. Just getting a little pullback off that open. So, folks, thanks very much for participating. A very lively interview. Thanks, Ronnie, for coming on and sharing your opinions with us. That's all that we have for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow.